It's time to go ahead and upgrade and update the tunes in Project Z28. That's right, UPS just dropped me off a big box of goodies. So now it's time to go ahead and get to work putting this in. Oh guys, I've been around car audio for as long as I can remember. Ever since out of high school, I got hooked up with some friends that were big into it, and I caught the bug, and I've been doing car audio ever since I can remember. I probably never showed anybody but my HHR that unfortunately the deer took out, but I don't think I showed it, but in that car I actually had 4 10-inch subs in the back, had a huge Phoenix Gold amplifier powering that. I think that was about like 2,500 watts. So we had about a 1,200 watt amp on the mids and highs. I had all separates, which are basically like a mid-range and a tweeter combined. We had mid-range, we had speakers all over that car. It sounded phenomenal. Well, not phenomenal. It sounded decent. It wasn't competition ready or anything like that. It never was meant to be, but it did sound pretty good. And man, it could just thump the bass for miles. Now, I was thinking a little bit about adding a little bit of bass to this car, but I really don't want to add the weight. If somewhere down the line I get ambitious and feel like running wires under the carpet or something, I might do a small bazooka tube in the back. But for right now, mainly we're just going to eliminate the cheap factory paper speakers. There's nothing to them. It's just one speaker which plays one flat frequency, and we're going to upgrade them with, we're going to put in speakers like this that are what they call like a two-way, which is like a mid-range, which covers your instruments and your vocal range and stuff like that, and a tweeter, which is going to hit those high notes of like drums and cymbals, and some like techno songs, some of the higher digital frequencies, things like that. Same thing with the 6x9s in the back. Like I said, this isn't going to be a competition system. It's not going to sound great. It's not going to be on the line of some of the better Bose or something like that. But it's going to sound a lot better than what it is. And one of the main reasons, too, I'm doing this is that just listening to FM radio anymore just drives me up a wall. It's nothing but commercials. A lot of songs I don't like. I have an app on my phone from Slacker. It's a couple bucks a month. And I can stream all the music I want. I got unlimited data from Verizon, and so hey, every time I get in this car, I'm just kind of frustrated. I spend more time trying to find a channel that's even playing a song at all. So, I mean, even though I hate pulling the factory radio and stuff out and changing the car. I want to be able to Bluetooth to my car and be able to listen to music. Like I said, I want to take this on the Hot Rod Power Tour, which is going to be a lot of driving. I want to take this to CAMARO Fest. It's going to be a lot of driving. And I just want to be able to enjoy some music. I really enjoy music, especially on a long drive like that. So let's go ahead and dig in. We'll show you how to go about putting some speakers in here. So like I said, I saw one YouTuber, he actually cut those vents, and I don't know why. I think it's because he put a special faceplate on there. It's pretty cool. It lit up. It said CAMARO on the top. So push the radio down. What I did back in the days, my radio went up higher, and that would have totally cleared the thing. So say we do a little bit of a comparison here. So what we have to do is line it up, and you can see this does stick out a little bit, but this is what I believe was actually the radio I had in my so I think this was the radio I had in my 91, and then I had this underneath there, which was a pretty wild, for back in the day, crossover network. You could just burp the subs with that, and you could change all your stuff here. So I think that's how I had it, and this piece being in the bottom was way shorter, because that was the last car I can remember having anything. No, my Grand Am. I had this in my Grand Am. This thing here is totally motorized. You hit a button, this thing comes out, it flips around. This thing is freaking wild, but it's ancient technology, and let me show you the new radio. This will not be a problem to mount in. This is I'm almost laughing. This thing is so funny. It's so small. Compare it to the factory radio, and it's almost like the old aftermarket compared to this. Look at how short this thing is. See, this thing has no CD player, no anything. I didn't care to have a CD. I haven't listened to CDs in years. All I wanted to do was just be able to Bluetooth to the car. So all I needed was something that would create power, about 50 watts a piece to each speaker. I think is the max. 25 continuous, I believe, is what's rated at. And just give me some basic tunes. And this is it. It's got a USB drive and aux in. It Bluetooths. It does Pandora, iHeartRadio, Spotify. I don't use any of that stuff. It's XM ready. I do actually have a receiver for XM, but they've gotten just to be way too expensive. I've had XM for the longest time, but it just got too expensive to keep up with that. I wish you guys could feel this thing. It weighs about as much as a cell phone. It is literally almost like hilarious how light this thing is. I have never seen a car radio so small, but here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the car. Whenever you do a radio install on a car, I highly recommend you get one of these harnesses. This plugs into the factory harness and gives you a whole bunch of wire to go ahead and plug your speaker harness in. So what I like to do is just go ahead and prep mine. The green, the purple, the white and gray are all your speaker wires. And here's all your miscellaneous power, ground. This one here is a blue, that's for power antenna. We're not going to need that. Orange is illumination. I'm not seeing that one either. So what I like to do is just like to get everything situated. So red's going to stay hot all the time. Yellow's going to be switched, which is what turns your radio on and off. And then you got ground, which is necessary. So we won't need that. Here we have a power antenna continuous, steering wheel remote input, and a mute button. We're not going to need those. Here are my speaker leads again over here, and then the only thing we have here is our power switched and ground. So there we go. Now we're just going to go ahead and connect these two and make a harness. So I have my harness here all nicely neat wrapped. Wire tied, so I don't have too much stuff. You could probably make it shorter, just fit your needs. I just really hate struggling with wires anymore. There's not a lot of wires on the factory harness, so this gives me some room to work with stuff. And just as long as you get enough room for these wires to fit, you'll be okay. Now next thing we need to do is what's called a dash kit. This is what's going to mount the radio into the hole. This is your standard radio, aftermarket radio. Is what's called a DIN. The factory radio, a GM radio, is called a DIN and a half. As you can tell, they're much wider. It's about that size. And this won't fit into the hole. So, and actually there's no brackets here, so we need a way to mount this. So you get these nifty little dash kits. Not hard to do at all. They're calling for this piece to go on this kit. I'm having some reservations on that. I don't know. Well, let's see here. Yeah, actually, when in doubt, measure it up. Not sure how well you can see that, but that'll be the size of the aftermarket radio. Alright, I've never seen a kit with this piece before. Said I've been out of the game for quite a while. Now that we got the ears bolted on, what I call the ears, this is what's going to give us the same mounting brackets that are on the factory radio to allow that to screw in. We're now going to put in the cage. You can see all these little weird looking little triangle things, and you have some of these straight bars right here. What we're going to do is put this into here like so. It doesn't matter, there's no top or bottom, it's not very specific. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look for where this plastic ends, this plastic trim piece ends, and then we're going to push down on whatever tab will let us push down like that. And what this does, this locks this piece in, and then this is what your aftermarket radio will go ahead and hook to. Like I said, just go ahead. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot. Just push in on the closest ones first. Try to get in what you can. There's even some here on the sides. See, none of them are working. And then if you ever do need to get your radio out, you won't have to unbolt all this. They give you these keys, which will, in effect, slide in right here and will engage this bracket like so, releasing the radio. So you can put, that's the purpose of this thing. If you're going to do any kind of work on one of these cars, one of these 90-degree bits is about a necessity. And not so much for getting here underneath the dash, it's going to be more for when we get these speakers out from here, because there's almost no way of getting anything, even a screwdriver, up in there. Now, while I'm a fan of using a drill to take the car apart, I wouldn't necessarily use this to put it back together. If you're going to, these numbers around the edge here are a clutch setting, and you can make it very soft. See where the drill won't spin? I would use number 1 and then finish tightening up by hand. But other than that, you know, understand that, like, especially on this car, you're only threading those screws into the dash. So you have about 6 9/32 bolts, like 3 here, 3 over here, and then there's 4 up here in the top part of the dash we need to get out. And not drop down into the defroster is the key thing that we're trying not to do here. Now they should just lift straight up and slide back. Especially now in the year 2020, these things are extremely old anymore. Maybe I need to open this door up. Be careful with these things. It won't take much to crack it. Make sure you get your tilt wheel down. Especially this dash is excellent shape. I don't want anything happening to it. Look at that. 1991 F-Car IP test results. Sequence number tester. Okay. Date 5/31. Wow. So that tells me nobody's been underneath the dash, because they probably would have definitely thrown that out. And honestly, I bought my 92 new and I don't even remember seeing anything like that. This is where this piece here is going to totally pay for itself, because there's no way to get in here. Got some kind of like right angle drive. And this just makes the job so easy. You're just going to have to yank really hard on this thing. There is a pin here that kind of holds that in place, but I really don't see any way of getting in there to push that down at all. Well, maybe you can. Yeah, I mean, you might try to get a screwdriver in here somehow, but it's pretty tight. If you yank pretty hard, it's going to come out. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the radio. It's just these 4 or 3 torque screws that hold it in right here. I might have said it before in the past, I don't know, but you know, I used to be kind of a bit of an audiophile back in the day. I was very much into car stereos. I had one system in my first Camaro. The first box we did it for was 2 Kicker 18s. Oh my, I'll see if I don't think I have a picture of the 18s. I'm pretty sure I don't. I'll see if I do. I'll try to scan in and put it up. And then my next system, because honestly the 18s just really didn't do it for me. They were great in low bass, but I kind of like rock and roll, stuff like that, and I wanted some quick thumpier response, which I know my next choice wasn't exactly even the best then, but we did 415s in that box. Now, as a bit of an audiophile, I have to admit, these cars are while they're extremely easy to put speakers and radios in, I mean, seriously, like, look, 3 screws, I have access to my radio. There's 4 screws, it's going to be out, no problem. The dash comes out. It's a lot easier to take the top of this dash off, especially on this car, than it is to remove a door panel. You risk breaking clips and things like that. So one of the biggest deficiencies with this car is it just has 4 speakers that are just plain, cheap paper speakers. There's nothing here in the middle, what we'd call like a tweeter for your high ranges. You know, you have your highs, you have your mids, you have your mid bass, you have your bass, sub bass, frequencies, kind of. And these cars just, they use the cheapest speakers ever, which is the reason why the ones I'm replacing with are kind of like 2-ways. They have like your mid-range and a tweeter. Try to bring those highs up. I mean, I really do enjoy great sound out of a car, and quite honestly, it's not really going to happen with this car. These speaker locations are absolutely horrible for an audiophile that wants to listen to good, nice sound. Like, if you're in competition, they use a CD and it's based on a sound stage, and they know that where each of the instruments are, to the far left, to the far right, center. You see a lot of cars now actually have like what they call center channel, speaker here in the middle. You notice most tweeters are up here and they're aimed across the dash, so your ear can kind of pick them up, and most speakers are down off in the kick panels of the doors or something like this. This car, they fire straight up here, and then in the back, especially it's horrible if you're a backseat passenger, you got a 6x9 right in your head. And honestly, like, these speakers are not the best. When I had my car, I made a plate out of this template, and I did a 4-inch mid-range, and then we cut a small hole and did a 1-inch dedicated tweeter right there. I mean, I knew that I never competed the car like in a sound quality type thing, because I knew it would just get romped on. But I mean, I just entered for like bass and overall kind of design and creativity, just kind of stuff. But as far as like sound quality, if you really want to get nice, they had things called wave guides back in the day. Not sure if Image Dynamics still makes them or not, but they were like big folded horns. They kind of work on that Bose technology of wave patterns, so you can get big sound, big tremendous sound from such a tiny little package by tuning that frequency of length. Now, if you wanted to, those worked really well in here, but you know, my days of climbing underneath dashes and trying to get that intricate are over with. So right now we're just trying to add just a little bit of good tunes to it. Now the radio, just 4 screws and this thing's gonna pop right out. I'm telling you, these cars are like the easiest things in the world to put stereos in. Like I said, unfortunately it comes at the cost of like sound quality, but it's not gonna be bad. There will be a drastic improvement in the sound all in all through the car. It's kind of sad. I really kind of liked that I had the factory radio, and it really hasn't been touched other than somebody cutting into it for a power antenna at one time. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of nice. I mean, the power button does stick awful bad. I thought this thing had a code to one day. The battery died. I could not get this radio to come back on at all. It fought and fought. It finally came on. I ended up driving the thing. It was the day I got the windows tinted. I drove the thing all the way there with no tunes. Drove me crazy. But anyhow, yeah, these things are really, really easy to put speakers in and out of. I said, you're not going to get like great sound, but I mean, anything's better than these plain Jane just paper speakers that they put in here. This basically gives you one range of frequency, and it's not that great. And they're 10 ohm, which is the amount of resistance. It's not very nice. Alright, let's take the back speakers out. This is really uncomfortable because I can't move my power seat because my battery's disconnected, but so you have one Phillips screw right here that comes out, and these are always fun. trying to put back in to figure out where that goes. I remember that because I just did the headliner not that long ago, if you remember. We took these out. And look at that. These speakers are actually held in by a Torx. Outstanding. Alright. I thought they were going to be the socket. So now we need to go change. I seriously think whoever invented Torx had a relative at GM. Damn it. Do not want to drop this thing. Let me get a magnet. Big magnets at Harbor Freight. Relatively cheap. Come in all kinds of uses. Especially like here, if I end up dropping the screw somewhere I don't want it to be. Look at that. There we go. Look, there's actually an acoustic damper in here. Wow. Wow, look at that. I don't remember this ever being dampened in here. Cool. First thing I'm going to do is plug in this factory harness. If you see here, there's 3 plugs. You might be able to see. Sorry guys, I'm not strapping a GoPro in here. Just don't feel like it. But there's 3 plugs. They only fit into the right spot on here, this harness. Now we're going to go ahead and feed it through here. Also, before we get going, there's an adapter for the antenna. Let's see, because most aftermarket radios use your regular big full-size antenna, and most cars use a small one. So now we need to use this adapter too, and all this is easier to do now before we put this thing in. Check it out. Changes all kinds of colors. It actually has a yellow. I can actually put this thing on yellow and it would match the entirety of the car. Now I did find this center console piece. This piece here, I did have to loosen it and pull it back to get the trim panel to come back on, or to go back on. I got it out without doing it, but I was pretty sure that this did have to come off. So yeah, I'm going to show you one more neat little thing, but yeah, check that out, man. Now to install the speakers, obviously they come with just 2 terminals that don't match what the factory has up here. Now Crutchfield sent me, included in the whole kit, which is amazing, the dash kit, that harness, and they gave me these harnesses that allow you to hook your factory aftermarket speakers to a factory connector. So that's pretty neat. You don't, one less thing you have to cut and splice and have to worry about. There's 2 size terminals here that match the big one and the small one here. They are very tight, so it takes you just a second to wiggle these things on, and be careful while you're doing that. And then once you have that on, you simply come over here. There's a groove cut right here in this one that matches the groove in the bottom of that, and we just slide these 2 together like that. And there you go. I'll tuck everything in there. Screw your speakers down. Put your dash back on. Screw that down. Those clips are the same. They gave me ones for the back speakers. everything comes out the way it came. There's nothing special about it. We're just taking the same exact size speakers that were from the factory and putting them in aftermarket, and those alone should just make the system sound better. So let me go ahead and finish this up, and then I'll take a listen to it, and I'll let you know what I think. Are you following me on Instagram? If not, why not? You would have known about this build before I had a chance to post it on YouTube. Every now and then I can put out little tidbits and little treats for you ahead of time before what I can do on YouTube. So all in all, it sounds pretty good. I'm happy with the install. Best part is this is 100% reversible. I could put the factory radio in here. There's absolutely zero damage done to the wiring harness of the car or any part of the car. No modifications, anything. Everything is direct bolt in. The speakers have more range of motion and more frequencies that are available to them. So my highs sound nice and crisp. For what they can be. The mid-range sounds good. It's definitely a lot more bass than what was there. I mean, to me, it still could use some more. Like I might do like a bazooka tube or something in the trunk, something small, just to give a little note. I definitely don't want to do like I did way back then with the 15s and stuff. But yeah, I'm happy with the sound, and the best part is I can Bluetooth it right to my radio now, and I can listen to endless tunes, my favorite tunes off of my Slacker radio app. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Sorry that the video is kind of long. I trimmed out as much as I could. It's just a lot of good info, at least the way I see it, and maybe help somebody else is trying to install radio in one of these cars and some speakers and that, and I can kind of show that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And too, sorry that it's late. Me and the wife have been doing a lot of things off camera, a lot of stuff that just needed to be done, and I'll have an update on Monday where we are with the cylinder head. So thank you everyone for your continued support. Thanks for watching. I want you to kind of hear the best that you can out of here, and without getting copyright stricken, the only thing I can do is go ahead and play you my song. So thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one.